Welcome back. What's up, everybody? It is the Callus Crew Challenge numero dos quarterfinals, baby. They've been a little bit slow to play the matches this week, admittedly, but there are going to be matches from every team, every set here on YouTube. At least in theory. I suppose that the ones that only have one non-Fairy Gen match could finish before the non-Fairy Gen set gets played, so I guess I should clarify that, but very likely you will see every team at some point or another on this channel in this round, and then after this round, there's a lot of lower gen stuff. In the finals, fortunately, just from dumb luck, is a lot of lower generations as well. So you guys should be able to see the rest of this tour, most of it, here on YouTube. But if you want to see all of it, the best way to do that is to join my Discord server, which a lot of you guys have already done. I really appreciate. But if you want to get in on that, the link to the Discord server is in the description. You can come hang out, socialize with the players if you want. If you want to just hang out anonymously, keep to yourself, that's fine too. But what you can do there, we have a trivia bot that people enjoy. You guys can watch the matches live. If you want the matches roll, just ask. You can check all the replays from this tour, including all the Fairy Gen stuff that has not appeared on YouTube. And crucially, what you can do is you can donate to this tour. We're at $700 something right now. Really trying to get to 900 before this ends. That's our target number. I've never hosted a money tour yet that hasn't met a target number. Unfortunately, we haven't met this one, and we're in the round of 8, so I'm really hoping we can get there. If you're able to contribute any amount, and if you've been enjoying this tour enough to where you think it's worth 5 of your dollars, 10 of your dollars, please consider doing that. Donations are quick, easy, anonymous if you want them to be, credited if you want them to be. It's just a PayPal link. It takes a matter of seconds, and it really supports the tour, so please consider doing that. So, back to the matter at hand. It is the Cryos B team, which Vileman is representing, and it is the Gator Guild, as represented by Ima. Interestingly, in a previous round, I think the last round, the Gator Guild also had RBY, and they decided to put X-Ray up to the task. He played against Marco P, who I think is a really good RBY player, and even though X-Ray kind of sort of put up a fight, the outcome was, as most people expected, it was a clean 2-0 for Marco. RBY might be one of the only weak points, at least on paper, for the Gator Guild. So this time they decided they're going to let Ima try it. I'm not sure what his level of experience with RBY is, but I know that Vileman's pretty good at it. And on paper, you would think that Vileman has the edge in this matchup. But anything can happen in Pokemon, and even more anything can happen in RBY. So we'll see how this plays out, but it is the first set between these teams. It will not decide the match as a whole, but obviously winning is better than losing. Good commentary there. Valuable insight. Let's get into it. So Vileman, Cryos B team, bottom side. Ima, Gator Guild, top side. Standard leads, Starmie and Gar, 2 of the 4 big common ones. One of them likes it, one of them doesn't. And Blizzard is going to hit but not freeze. Going to crit but not freeze on the second attempt. And then Sing is going to connect. Starmie going to take a nap. Chansey, of course, going to soft-boiled on the switch. We end up Chansey on Chansey. And they're going to fling status attempts at each other. Ice Beam and Sing, respectively. Got to be an advantage early on for Vileman. Certainly better to have the opposing Chansey slept than the opposing Starmie in most cases. Though it doesn't look like Vileman is going to go to Lax or Tauros or whatever to capitalize on this. He's actually just going to Ice Beam it a million times. And this is a very long nap, as it turns out, for Ima. The Chansey must have slept. We can take a quick peek here. 5 turns? That is an incredibly long nap. He should wake up any time now. But he didn't really take advantage of that sleep all that much. Goes back to his own Chansey here, so wakey wakey, no more sleep finally. And this time he's going to sing something else. It ends up being Alakazam, so the game moves back to closer to even. And they're going to start flinging Ice Beams at each other again, fishing for that back-breaking freeze that, as we discuss in every RBY video, is essentially permanent. Not literally. The move Haze and Fire moves do still remove freeze, but those are things that are effectively not present, save the rare Fire Blast Tauros or the even rarer Moltres here in RBY-OU. For all intents and purposes, once you're frozen, you'll never thaw. Mons don't thaw on their own. So that's what they're going for. And it's going to be Ima who ends up being the luckier one. He's going to land the 10% freeze on the opposing Chansey. And in an otherwise equal-ish game, that has got to just be a flat-out advantage now for Ima. 6-6, but Frozen Mon on the other side, so basically 6-5. Vileman can and will still use that Chansey as tempo fodder when he doesn't have a good switch or he wants to just sack something so he can switch in a way that he wants to. He might sacrifice the Chansey at that time rather than just keeping it in. You could see that, Vileman knew, obviously, that he's never going to thaw, but he could have just left it in and let it die, right? But he chose not to, and if you watch any RBY games, they almost never just leave it in. They always pull it back and decide to keep it for later, and that's not an accident. That's because there is actually value to having some fodder later in the game and then setting up a better Mon-on-Mon matchup after they kill your Frozen Mon. So we'll see if that comes into play here. We'll see if and when Vileman takes advantage of that fodder. In the meantime, we've got an Alakazam landing a Psychic on Chansey. No crit, no drop. Soft Boiled gets off through the para. Good to go. Wave is going to land, so we have two big, fat, paralyzed normals staring each other down. And they're both going to fish for full paras, but Imus had enough, goes to Gar. Comes in safely on Body Slam. Lax sometimes carries EQ, something he's got to be aware of. But if Vileman has it, he doesn't go for it here. And this time there is a crit from Zam. Threatens him with another crit here or a full para, but neither one comes down. Soft Boiled lands. Specs drop as well, and a full para, so hindsight 2020, Vileman actually could have stayed in and gone for Psychic again, but he of course had no way of knowing that a full para was going to happen that turn. Hits Gar on the switch with Blizzard. Gar's pretty low for Ima. And Lax is going to wake for him as well as he sets up Reflect in the Lax mirror match. So Ima's is a little bit less healthy, but Vileman's is paralyzed. Not anymore as he clicks Rest. And now Ima going to follow suit. So still 56 turns, 57 turns now in. We're still at 6-6, but there's still the Frozen Poke for only one player. Vileman, despite multiple Ice Beams, multiple Blizzards, hasn't been able to find a freeze of his own yet. So here comes Starmie coming into Cloyster. Very well may have Thunderbolt. There it is, Thunderbolt. Starmie has all the good coverage moves in this gen that he has in future gens. Can attack you with Water, Ice, Electric, Psychic. It's going to always have T-Wave and Recover in this gen. The question is which two coverage moves is it going to opt for? And I believe we've seen, yes, only Thunderbolt. So it's probably to Surf as the last move, but yet to be seen. Gengar comes in. Last time Vileman didn't like it, and he seemingly doesn't like it again. Vileman has consistently represented, he's only shown these three moves, but he's consistently represented that his Lax can't actually touch the Gar. It could mean last move Boom or Hyper Beam, which are pretty standard on Lax, but that would in fact mean that he can't touch the Gar. Here comes Cloyster. Body Slam, 23%, high defense stats, so he takes those reasonably well. Going to get some Clamp Cheese going, but it's not going to be that exciting against Starmie. Nevertheless, he is going to push the issue, this time on Zam. Back to Starmie. And Starmie not going to be able to do much against Lax, but Gar comes in knowing that it walls the Lax, and now the switch dance begins. Specs drop on Chansey. Lax comes in. T-Wave can't paralyze something that's already paralyzed, and Gengar again comes in to blank him, but he's going to double back here, and Vileman stayed in, perhaps anticipating that, but he's not rewarded. He gets 3 full paras in a row before finally getting a Reflect off. Hyper Beam there goes for it, but misses, but then full para kicks in as well. And another full para. That's 5 full paras in 6 turns for Vileman. Pretty unlucky, obviously. T-Wave going to land on Lax there. And now Cloyster reappears. Now a full para against Ima's Lax. Blizzard there, 34%, and another full para. Man, Lax are really having a hard time escape full para today. Seen 7 out of 8 or something like that in these past few turns. Tauros comes in and briefly stares at Starmie, but is obviously not going to let himself get T-Waved unless he has to. And a couple of failed T-Waves later, more switcheroony. Zam could have died there to a crit, which Starmie has a high chance of getting because of his speed stat, which is related to crits here in good old Gen 1. We also see a recover fail, which, man, we've seen a couple of those in this tour. It's going to be another quirky RBY mechanic that I have to explain. Here's how they explain it in the battle itself. Quote, in Gen 1, recovery moves fail if the user's maximum HP minus the current HP plus 1 is divisible by 256. Kind of a mouthful, but that is in fact a real and almost certainly unintended cartridge mechanic due to poor programming back in the primitive RBY days. Back to the matter at hand. Goes for the Hyper Beam kill, would have gotten him with a crit, but doesn't get a crit, however, is not really punished for attempting it. Cloyster has to rest and can't do anything back, so I totally get in Ima's shoes why he would go for that there. So we have an air quotes 5-5 game, keeping in mind that, as you can see on your screen, Chansey is still frozen. We're going at, I don't know, I don't feel like this has been a slow, boring narration. I'm having fun. A brisk pace, it feels like, even though we are pretty deep, actually. 116 turns and counting. Frozen Chansey does die here, so Vileman does finally allow his fodder to go. And now we have a proper 5-4 game for the time being, though, of course, either one can still refreeze something now that Freeze Claws wouldn't activate and there's no Frozen Mon for either. Ima now has the 5-3 lead, but Vileman not quite out of it yet. Bull mirror match is very much a thing in RBY. Vileman's is healthier but paralyzed. Ima's has taken a beating but is not paralyzed. It'll be interesting. Body slam on Cloyster there. Time for some clamp cheese. Back to Tauros on Chansey, which is probably what he was going for. There's a good body slam. Ice Beam back for just 25%. Gives him a chance here to get a crit. And he does get a crit, but he lands it on Lax rather than the intended Chansey. Body slam again. Cloyster, I feel, has been pretty good about avoiding pairs, but this time he does get clipped. And there's Hyper Beam for the kill on Bull. That might wrap this one up. Yeah, Vileman thinks it's done at that point. He gets caught with the beam, and that is going to be a Game 1 win for Ima. He's going to have 5 Mons at the end of the game, a long 131 turn game, but I really don't think the fact that he's got 5 Mons standing to only 2 of Vileman is really indicative of how close this game was. It certainly did not feel like a one-sided beating, and it wouldn't have gone for 131 turns if it were just a one-sided stomp. You know, you just kill him in 30 turns or whatever. It went this deep because it was closer than it looked. But nevertheless, Ima for the Gator Guild doing what X-Ray could not and getting a win in RBY. However, can he get another win? That's the crucial thing. It's a best of 3. So winning a game is great. You can tease your teammate. But what we really care about here, obviously, is match wins. So that's what he's going to attempt here. Let's go head over to Game 2. It's going to be Vileman on the bottom again for the Cryos B team. Ima on the top. Executor, very common and very good Mon, but not the most common lead. And it's going to prompt him to switch out against the more common lead, Starmie for Ima. A couple blizzards later, trying to freeze the Chansey. Doesn't manage to do that. And now Chansey is fishing for crits or powers with Thunderbolt. Ima's probably not going to allow that for too much longer. We briefly see egg on egg, but Ima doesn't like it, and he's going to let his Starmie, rather than his egg, be on the bad end of the sleep powder. And a good trade for Vileman. He's going to trade his eggs for the other egg flat out, but he's also going to land a sleep on the Starmie, so small advantage in the early stages of this game for Vileman. That could be undone quickly, though, if we're going to get into an Ice Beam pissing contest here. Ima's going to retaliate with S-Toss. I don't know about that. If you're staying in this matchup, you've got an Ice Beam, T-Wave, or Sing, but you're never going to get anywhere. You're bringing a knife to a gunfight. If you're going to S-Toss against Ice Beam, you will always lose that if you play that game for too long. And Vileman, of course, is going to continue. Ima wises up and gets out of the way. Not sure about risking Chansey against Tauros here. Vileman is just spamming Ice Beam, which, I mean, it's a good move, high upside, but Chansey is not meant to be a counter to Tauros, and indeed, Vileman is left with just a 20% Chansey after eating a body slam. And there is a Golem. I haven't seen that guy since Kingdom Come, man. Nobody uses Golem anymore. I haven't followed SPL at all this year, never mind RBY SPL, but I would wager, if you looked right now at the usage, can't say that word, too complicated, usage statistics for RBY SPL this year, I bet you Golem has been used 0 times. I, at one point, was watching a lot of RBY in the modern era. It's a big part of Pokemon Perfect. I've covered it on my channel, whatever. I'm telling you, nobody uses Golem, so I'm suspecting this is an older team. Anyone who uses a Rockmon just uses Rhydon. Golem does have Boom and Rhydon doesn't, which is one of the big things, but Rhydon is by and large considered the better Mon. So we'll see. Ima's team, I wonder if it's old, because I have no clue if Ima actually plays RBY with any kind of regularity. I wonder if he just picked this up from a team dump somewhere. I wonder if this is like pre-body slam changes or whatever. The Golem is a relic of the past. It really is. We'll see, but it's cool to see. I don't see a lot of Golem, and then you got to think for Ima, it's just going to be Last Poke Lax, of course. Got to bring him, right? Vileman hasn't even shown half of his team. Got to be a bull somewhere, of course, but just looking like plain Jane standard so far for Vileman. Hopefully for his sake, he doesn't have a Zapdos in the back the one time that the opponent has randomly rolled up with Golem, of all things. And that is not a Lax in the back. That is a Lapras, so an extremely unusual choice, unconventional choice, whatever you want to use here, to not bring Snorlax. I don't want to criticize players that are this deep in the tour and that are up a game. I think Lax is a mandatory bring. I would never not bring Lax, and I would be very upset if my SPL or major tournament teammate wanted to play an RBY team that didn't have at least Tauros, Lax, Chansey. In my mind, all 3 of those are absolute non-negotiable, mandatory brings. Ima sees it differently. I have to wonder, especially now seeing the Lapras, if this is an older team pre-body slam changes. But Lapras doing work here. Chansey twice is going to attack itself in its confusion, and as it turns out, Ima has stumbled into what seems to be a pretty good matchup. So not only does he get there with the Lapras with the Parafusion nonsense, but also Zapdos is on the other side for Vileman, staring down a almost full health Golem that he more or less cannot touch. So even though I really question this team for Ima, I don't think I've really hit it very well or attempted to hit it, that I don't really like the team from Ima. I think Ima's in a great position to win this game. He's flat out up a poke at 5-4, and that Zapdos is going to go all of nowhere so long as the Golem remains on the other side. Here comes Tauros. Body Slam. No power on the Zapdos. There's a start. But yeah, what do you do about Golem here? You Drill Peck it for 20% with a crit, apparently, is the answer. Hey, any chip counts. And Ima's going to stay in and go for EQ into an EQ immune poke for a second time, perhaps anticipating that switch. But yeah, I mean, you need all the chip you can get. Zapdos going to have a really hard time breaking Golem there. Crit opportunity for Vileman. Can't land the para. Body Slam can't paralyze normals, as we discuss in every RBY video. But Ima, who's already ahead, is going to be on the good end of the luck, getting a Body Slam crit on the Zapdos, taking that out with a subsequent Body Slam. Vileman on the edge of the cliff. Ima trying to push him off. Here comes Zapdos. Full para at a bad time for Vileman. Now we're going to bust out Parafusion, and he's going to immediately attack himself. Ima getting all the RNG that he needs. I guess he could have crit him there or parried him there, but Ima getting it where it counts. He's flat out up a poke at this point, up 2 pokes even. And he wins the para speed tie to kill Lax. Vileman, I think, is very close to the concession here. He's going to need something like a crit full para. He does get the crit, doesn't get the full para. Body Slam at least kills Starmie to make him a little closer, but he's still so far behind. And more Parafusion coming down. And again, he immediately attacks himself. Confusion has been tough for Vileman's team. He at least lands the Hyper Beam crit through the full para there and gives himself a shot. But that's the reason you use Golem. He learns boom, Rhydon doesn't. Survives the blizzard, clicks boom, takes out the bull, and Chansey now with a one-turn window in which, Starmie with the one-turn window in which he must crit or full power the Chansey, which as we see he didn't. And now I believe Ima's got this in the bag. The soft boileds have gotten off, and now if we get into a PP contest, it's going to be Ima who eventually grinds him out. The Starmie is going to have a very hard time getting through Chansey. He would need Specs drops. Tauros can come in at the right time and just finish it. Had he come in there on a full power, for example, we would be done. The Specs drop does help Vileman's case. There's more than literal actual 0 chance that Vileman can win, but it's going to be very hard pressed. Ima should have this in the bag. I do think he was on the better end of the RNG in this particular game, and I think he stumbled on, he happenstanced upon a good matchup with the Golem into the Zapdos. Still don't love Ima's team, but his Lapras loves him and got there with all the RNG. And there you go. On that turn, in which Vileman may or may not have clicked something like Recover, something like T-Wave, something like Surf, click just about anything there to get the Tauros. Instead, he's going to full para. Tauros, obviously not being paralyzed against a paralyzed opponent, is going to be faster. All he has to do is not miss Hyper Beam. He connects. That is game, set, and match. Ima doing what X-Ray could not. The 2-0 victory, which is not what you guys predicted, understandably, against Vileman, who does have a lot of RBY experience. It's going to be Ima getting the match win for the Gator Guild against the Cryos B team. So now it's going to be on both of Vileman's teammates to win, or they're going to be out of there. Those matchups, one of them is Crystal against X-Ray and DPP, which I hope is a match that actually gets to happen, because that is a real highlight of this round and a match I'm very much looking forward to. The other one, however, and this is going to be a tough sell, I think, for the Cryos B team. They've got Crying against Conflict in GSC in a match that you must think that Conflict has a heavy advantage. You never know, but either way, that is all lower gens, so I'm looking forward to casting at least one, if not both of those, if the last one even gets played. But Vileman's team, Cryos B team, needs a Crying and a Crystal win, or they will be eliminated and the Gator Guild will be through to the semifinals. Regardless, guys, going to wrap this up. Very quick reminder, Discord link in the description. Join. Please consider donating. If you enjoyed this video and have been enjoying the tournament in general, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you've not already done so. And that's about it. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm off to work. Hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. And I will see you guys tomorrow for presumably a lot of matches. There's many more to play this round. See you guys then.